So I'd like to just introduce you to Vince, who will introduce himself, I'm sure.
Yep. Thanks, Claire. So I did PCUTL. I finished module 3. I don't know, a year ago, something like that. A year ago. So, however many years prior to that, I was more or less in the same position as you guys. And so I'm just going to talk a bit about my experience. A slight aside: I'm recording sound in this room at the moment. If anyone says anything that they don't want me to have a recording of, just let me know. But yeah. So I'm a lecturer at the School of Mathematics in Cardiff University, just over there, and I did PCUTL, and I did not want to do it. I did not want to do it. I just got my lectureship. I was going to, win a Nobel Prize. Hopefully some of you realize it's a joke because we don't get Nobel Prizes because some mathematician had an affair with Nobel's wife, so we have to make do with the Fields Medal. But I was going to get that, and it was going to be awesome. I was going to be amazing. And teaching was this thing. Teaching was standing in a room talking to people. I don't need to go on a course on that. And it's this thing that gets in the way. And I did, and then all of a sudden, PCUTL was thrown on me, and I had to do PCUTL, and it was another thing that was just going to be in the way. And I always describe my first couple of weeks, perhaps, of PCUTL as a beast trapped in a net. And so in blue there, that's my attitude towards PCUTL. And then in red is the support you receive from Claire and Kath. Well, I received from, I'm sure it's the same, from Claire and Kath. And I just did not want to be here. There was nothing I wanted to do with this. Then realized I was like a beast trapped in a net, and the best thing a beast can do when trapped in a net is to just stop struggling, basically. And then the journals kicked in, and the journals are something you're going to do in module 1, and I'll talk about them a bit more. And all of a sudden it tweaked, and then I was like, all right, I have to read some literature. And so I read a little bit of pedagogic literature, and then I couldn't stop reading pedagogic literature, and now I can't stop reading pedagogic literature. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a moment. Now I'm actually taking pride in my teaching. The stuff that I'm doing, I'm actually taking pride in. And basically, I am arguably, well, from my point of view, I'm PCUTL's biggest fan. It was the single thing in my professional development that had the biggest impact on who I am as an academic. It completely changed my attitude to my job, and I'm extremely thankful for it. And it was absolutely brilliant. I'm jealous that you guys get to go through it, all right? Because I'm starting module 4 soon. Speak to you about that. But it is a wonderful experience, and I promise you will eventually enjoy it. But perhaps my best advice is don't be a beast trapped in a net for as long as I was. It really is awesome. You're going to learn so much awesome stuff. So just briefly, I'm going to go through the 3 modules that you're going to do and talk about some of the things for me. And so module 1 is all about the journals, and you have to write these journals. And it took me a while to kind of understand the journals. And I don't know how much you know about this, so I apologize if I'm kind of speaking about things that you don't know that much about. But you're asked to reflect on yourself as a learner and an educator, and you write this journal, and it's something that you put up on Learning Central, and then Claire or Kath look through it. There's another gentleman now, John is part of the team, look through it and give you feedback. Okay, cool, I get the idea. I have to write an essay. So I went away and I wrote an essay as best I'm a mathematician, right? So as best as I could. And then it came back, this perfect essay came back with all this stuff on it. And I was like, what have you done to my beautiful essay? And that's after a little bit, when I said I got the journals, I realized that the journals are not writing an essay, it's this dialogue, and it's the best, well, the best, it's all the best. It's one of the coolest things in module 1, where you realize that there's just these little pointers that come back that kind of say, oh, okay, you're talking about this, but have you thought about that? You've thought about this, and you've thought about that. And by the end, like my last journal that I submitted was not a beautiful essay, it was just a messy thing with comments all the way through, but it is that dialogue and that reflective dialogue that Claire and Kath help you have, and John help you have. So journals are awesome. Look forward to them. Module 2 is when I and when you will start to kind of explore some of the pedagogic literature out there. Here's my favorite book through the process. I really liked this book. I carried it around for a couple of months. But there's so many awesome books out there, and depending on what you find interesting in pedagogic literature, don't all take notes about this book. There's loads of other books out there. Don't just read this book. There's loads of other books out there. I became really interested in what it meant to learn, and now I kind of hate the term teaching, and I hate that our titles are lecturers. I think they're a terrible set of vocabulary, but I won't get up on my soapbox about that. I'm just really interested more in learning. And that I really found just fascinating, like the amount of research that's out there and just the amount of cool ideas that are out there in pedagogic research. And so that's what Module 2 was really about for me. It was kind of like, okay, so it was kind of like discovering all this wealth of research that was out there. And well, I'll leave that till then. And then Module 3 was when I'm going to kill myself on this. Module 3 was when was when I kind of put everything that I'd been thinking about, so where I was, who I was, what I wanted my students to be able to do, as well as what's been done, what learning means, and I call myself a social constructivist. That's how I like to think about learning. It's not the only way to think about learning. Into practice. And this was a new module that I implemented. Now, the details here are not at all important. This is basically just a picture from my PCUTL portfolio. But I was lucky enough that I got to implement a brand new course at the same time. Now, not everyone will have that opportunity. It was perfect for me. When I say course, I mean module, a brand new module. And I could use all sorts of interesting things that I'd been reading about. Not everyone will have that opportunity. I realized that. I was very lucky. This happens to be what's called a flipped class. And then I always like to give a little bit of a warning about the flipped learning environment. A lot of people think that means I'm just going to do a bunch of videos. It doesn't. It's much more important about the actual course time. How you actually transfer the content is different. But that's what I did in Module 3, is I put together something that was different. And I taught in a different way than every single lecture that I'd ever been to before. Now, I'm not saying that someone should teach differently, but the thing was that I could teach this way, and I could go speak to my director of learning teaching, and PCUTL enabled me to have the vocabulary and have the ideas to say, I'm doing this for a reason. And my point is always, whatever one does in the classroom, the reason shouldn't be because that's how it's been done for 500 years. Could do the same thing that's been done for 500 years, but have a good reason for it. And that's one of the little things that I think PCUTL enabled me to do. And then this was, actually, I think it came out of my Module 1 first journal, was this definition of what teaching is. And I think it was Claire that was asking me, what, you keep on saying teaching, but what do you mean by teaching? I was like, I mean teaching. What do you mean by teaching? And that's the definition that I've taken from that and that little dialogue. And it's just providing learning opportunities, which I really like, which is what I try and do. And I think we all, to some extent, try and do. But PCUTL gives you the opportunity to think about how to do that. And so that class, this is a picture of it. Does anyone know why I really like that photo? I'm not in it. Thank you very much. Spot on. I'm not in the photo, which is ideal and is arguably an instance of a perfect class. Students are all talking to each other. They're doing stuff. There's another cool thing in the class, but that's kind of particular, is that this gentleman, who is actually a student from a previous year, so I get students from previous year to basically come in and facilitate that. And that's, again, that's not necessarily how everyone should teach, but it's what fits how I like to help my students learn. At the end of it all, you get this. And you also get a very nice certificate when you finish PCUTL, et cetera, which I've got somewhere. But this, I've actually got it in a frame in my office, because you come and you're so happy and you're exhausted, and you hand in there, and then they give you a receipt, and then you're walking away with this really crumped up receipt, and you're like, oh, okay. But then, yeah, but you get a receipt, which is awesome. So look forward to getting your receipt. Cool things happen because of PCUTL, because it does give you the opportunity to really concentrate on pedagogy. I was very lucky to win an award from the university, and that was in big part thanks to some of the developments I've taken part in PCUTL. That's not the award. That's my wife. The award is somewhere else. She held on to it. And so good things come from PCUTL. Just yesterday, I had a pedagogic paper accepted for publication as well. That would not have come about if I hadn't done PCUTL. So yeah, that's more or less all I want to say. But please ask me any questions if you want to get in touch. If you want to look at these slides, they're not very useful, but if you do, don't hesitate to. But yeah, please ask me any questions or anything you want to know about PCUTL.
How did you find kind of managing all the time teaching with it? Because I get your enthusiasm. I'm enthusiastic. But I just wondered how did you find that, and did you develop any kind of techniques to deal with it? Just did it.
So yeah, I mean it is difficult. It is a lot of work. The thing, as far as techniques are concerned, a preemption to that are the PCUTL team, so Claire, Catherine, John. Sorry, I've already forgotten his name. You guys understand the position that everyone's in, is what I'm trying to say. And so it's not this is what you have to submit for your portfolio. It's something like this. How does that work around what you're doing? And so if you think about things, and if you enter into a dialogue with Claire and Catherine and John, then you certainly can find ways that'll work. Having said that, it is a lot of work. I had my line manager, who was my PCUTL mentor, was very understanding, has always been great at letting me go, so to speak, which I also understand is something that I was lucky with. It doesn't always happen, but he was very aware that I was doing this, and it did take time. So it does take time. I don't have any smart techniques. I'm sure that I didn't. I wasn't very good at it, actually. But for example, I mean, towards the end of all this, it's kind of the enthusiasm took over, and I remember when we start out, you get handed this. You need to do this, and I remember when I first couple of days of PCUTL, I was like, right, I'm going to do this, just what is required. But by the end of my module 2, my module 3, possibly module 1, you guys were telling me to do less, and that so it takes a lot of time. Good things do. Things that are worth doing are hard. But it's doable. It's it's doable, and if you will feel a sense of pride afterwards, I guarantee it.
I guess it's not a question for Vince, but kind of you guys. I'm a bit intrigued that we're talking about hard work and how it's going to be. I'm a bit intrigued about why you've set the deadlines in the middle of semesters, which are just rather than a Christmas or an Easter or a summer.
Can I take that one?
Yeah.
Can I take that? Sorry. I think I thought about that, and then I thought about it for a bit longer, and I realized there is no good time. There's quite simply no good time.
The deadline's the 30th of October, and I am absolutely rammed either side of that with lectures. So if you
But then
in December, when I know I've got Ease time, or in Easter when we know we've got 3 weeks off of teaching. And
but then in
summer,
Easter you might need to do all your marking. Then over the summer you might have research.
That is our quiet period until the exams are done.
But then some schools teach 12 months, so we've done mathematical profiling to try and see, and we're hugely flexible as well.
They're absolutely scaring about me, excuse my language. Those deadlines, the 30th of October and the 22nd of February, they could not be. You couldn't have picked any busier.
I suppose the big thing though is that you do have those deadlines now. There's nothing stopping you just.
Well, I'm not starting the course till September. So
work with it.
My conclusion, because I thought about that with a few deadlines, like, oh, this is not a good time, and then I thought, well, actually, there's going to be no good time, and then there was times where it was good for me, but then when you do a group project, you're speaking to someone else, like, no, this is not a good time for me, and stuff. So just yeah.
So if I understand correctly, so this is going to be, so the portfolio we are going to generate is going to be about our practice. Is that correct? Like what we actually implement into our real-time teaching or facilitate other people to learn.
I guess it'll be a combination of those things. So it might be more about your practice, but it might be more about reflecting on others' practice. And you might not, for whatever reason, your module might come at a time where you cannot apply things to your practice. and you'll have, for example, thinking about how you'd apply to your practice. I think, again, it's just the flexibility of things. So it might just be completely about your practice with a little bit of a view of looking at others. You might all of a sudden just do a really big literature review of a particular thing. I guess it just depends. Is that the right answer?
So the reason I ask is because I'm not going to teach anything for the next semester, but would that be a problem for me to do? Okay.
No, not at all. You can do preparation for, and the discussions that you can have can be around what you plan to do as opposed to what you actually have done. So you will be able to, at some time on PCUTL, actually have somebody come into your class watching you work with real live students. But for a number of reasons, you will have peer review where it's all desktop based, and that's perfectly acceptable as well.
I had that in my first module. I had a peer review where someone came into my class because I had a class that particular time, and in the second module, I didn't have students at the time. So myself and another student that I was doing a peer review of, we basically he was in the same situation. We just sat in each other's office, looked at a lesson plan, and just talked about it, really.
Something you can do before. Let's say if you want to start now because you know then in 3 months you are not going to have time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can start doing now?
I've already answered that question because my wife has just started PCUTL, and she's heard me raving about PCUTL for years. Well, so that's not years, but being enthusiastic, and she was basically trying to start. And my answer is because I found the pedagogic literature very interesting. I would suggest, just go find some books and read up about pedagogic literature. But then the start of PCUTL, my advice to my wife was, okay, now but it's great to have read that, but almost forget about that for a bit, because what Module 1 is about kind of placing yourself and reflecting about yourself. But you can always go read stuff. I don't know if you guys got better advice than that. Or...
Reading stuff is good.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, what do you want to do your module 4 about? Because I just wondered, it's very specific to, I guess, everybody's system.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good opportunity because I can tell Claire and Kath. So I've got 2 ideas for my module 4. I'll start with the one that I don't think I'm going to do. And the one I don't think I'm going to do is there is so much pedagogic literature about learning. So for example, there is research that says the best way to put something in your brain is not to repeat putting it in your brain, but repeat taking it out of your brain. So quizzes and stuff. And that kind of points to the assessment for learning as opposed to assessment of learning kind of thing. And there's all sorts of literature like that. So it's just one idea, but there's all sorts of literature like that. But it's all targeted at us. Whereas something like that would be, that little tidbit would be very useful to students. So one of my ideas, which I think is too open and too vague, so I probably won't do, would be to do a big review of these sorts of things, something I'm very much interested in, and try and produce something that would be a tool that students could use. So see all these theorems, these pedagogic theories, in a light that would help students. And from the first point of view, from a mathematician student's point of view, saying, okay, well, if you're trying to learn the proof for this theorem, the best way to do it is to try write the proof for this theorem, that kind of thing. But the idea that I am planning on going with, and I want to talk to you guys about it, is undergraduate research projects. So I'm very interested in active learning, and undergraduate research projects are kind of the ultimate active learning process. And just within our school, I imagine that some supervisors spend a lot less time with some students. Some supervisors are probably a lot different with their students, let alone across different schools. So for example, in the School of Mathematics, not every student does a final year project. But I know that in biosci, for example, they do, and various other schools, they do. And so what I would like to do is almost a three-dimensional look at that. And so look at what people are doing from the point of view of students, from the point of view of staff. If I'm spending 4 hours a week with an undergraduate student, that's obviously taking a lot more time than someone who's firing off a 5-line email once a week. And also from the point of literature, what is best practice? What is that? And then bring it all together and saying, okay, is someone spending 4 hours a week with their student actually helping the student in the long run or not? And perhaps the 5-line email is in fact more helpful, or indeed is probably something a bit different. So looking into all that is kind of the idea I'm thinking about at the moment. The great thing about Module 4, not that you have to worry about it yet, is that it's meant to be the start of a big thing. So I'm imagining, think of one of those things as my. Great. Yeah. Thank you. Nice. Good luck with everything, and good luck with obviously your workload, which I know is heavy, and it's the way it is. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.